Podcast. I'm just excited like I am, every Thursday. And everybody keeps saying, you always say you're excited, but I mean, I am. Anytime you get to build a new relationship or you get to talk to someone new that's in a whole nother different space or whatever, I'm always excited about learning new things and meeting new people. But welcome to the Black Podcast again. My name is Dr. Sherelle Hobson. I am one of the host for this wonderful podcast that we have here. August will be a year for us, so we will be having a celebration about that. I've been in the space of education and athletics for 16 years. So many of you know I've been an athletic director, a physical education teacher, and so forth. Passion in helping coaches create productive and effective systems within athletics that helps to change the narrative of young Black males who are involved. So making sure that we're setting them up for success in whatever future endeavors that they have, whether they're going on to college or being entrepreneurs. I love help creating those type of spaces and coaching coaches on that. I have a doctorate in sports administration and leadership where my focus was on African American males and the effects of athletics on their educational plans. And so a lot of us know within the Black community, some of our youth really depend on their athletic gift, and that's okay. But we need to make sure that we create a space that they understand exactly who they are within that space, and what they have to offer athletics, but just their mind, what they have to offer in here. And so I'm just so excited about what we're doing here, not only on the Black Podcast, but also we have a company called HSBA, which is a mentorship and leadership program. You can find out more there on our website at wearehsba.com if you want to learn more about what we're doing in the Black community with our young males and helping to change the narrative of them within the educational system. Many of you know that there is an academic gap and all kind of different situations that our challenges that our young men and women face in the educational system. So it is up to us to find out and operate in our gifts so that we can be more productive in the Black community for our young boys and girls. So, Mr. Streak.
Well, as I was just mentioning before we went live, to see myself and two other highly accomplished individuals from our community having this type of dialogue, being on this type of platform, it gives me such a positive outlook on what the future can be, and it really helps me continue to internalize the fact that there's so much that we have to accomplish, but there's so much power that we have to be able to achieve, to make those accomplishments. And just to rewind it a little bit, for those of you who may be new viewers, new listeners, my name is Brian Street. I started a company, Your Legacy Begins Now, about 2 years ago. And I really wanted to create a funding mechanism to go towards helping sustain, develop, evaluate, and produce programming and services that are going to benefit that transitional age adolescent. I started seeing so many people that look like me aging out of the child welfare system and not really knowing what to do in their life. So thankfully, I was surrounded by a lot of mentors that were able to show me a different way than that which a lot of my peers were shown. So I decided, you know what, let me figure out what I can do to put together to show the next generation that there is a different way. And I allow my accomplishments to be that example. And then I would make opportunities for other individuals to follow in those footsteps, but also to blaze their own trail. And coming into spaces like this, we just aim to really bring more individuals to you that show you the fact that there's so much that we have amongst us when it comes to the Black community. There's so much greatness. We're not all the same. You know, what Dr. Hobson is interested in, I'm interested in only to a certain extent. What our guest is interested and mastered in, we're interested in only to a certain extent. But when we all fit our piece of the puzzle together, that's when we can start to change the world. So off of that note, I'm not even going to speak on myself for too much longer. I want to go ahead and bring our guest to the stage so that we can have a nice and fruitful conversation. And y'all take some notes, please. Look at the facts of the matter that you're going to get from this gentleman. Look at some of the accomplishments that he's been able to accomplish and ask yourself, why can't I? So off that note.
And not just that, you need to make sure you're sharing these videos.
Yes.
Because if if you're not sharing, if you're only just containing this, information for yourself, you're not contributing to the community. So you need to make sure that you are sharing these videos, because you never know. Maybe you may feel like it's not relevant to you, but you never know who's in your circle of people that may need to hear these stories, or may need to connect to the guests that we have. So please make sure that you are doing your job and sharing the Black podcast.
What she said. Y'all better get on it. All right. Without further ado, we got Dr. Jalaal Hayes in the house. How's it going?
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Good to be here, and thank y'all for having me. How y'all doing?
We're
Doing,
doing good
man, doing so
now
well.
that we
Even better
got you
since we
on
got
here.
you. I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have a good vibe and good energy, so I'm ready. Let's go.
For
I
sure.
was like, man, I don't know if I should wear a suit. I didn't know if he was gonna come, because every time I see some of your content, I'm like, man, he be suited and booted. I don't know if I should go and change or what. I
Nah,
was gonna
we
change it
gonna
up, and
be
then you changed it up.
yeah, we gonna be relaxed. I feel like amongst family, so we gonna have a great conversation. So yeah, let's talk. Let's just talk, and we gonna vibe out, and we gonna have a good time overall.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get started with, as I mentioned before, I feel like it's important that within the only way that we can really see growth, individually and as a unit, is knowing people's backstory. We see all this stuff on TV, what people are doing on social media and all this, and we like, wow, we don't understand their journey. And so I want you to start from the very beginning, like where you're from and kind of the dynamics of your family, like how you were raised and kind of just that story. If you can let us know and give us some insight on that.
No, definitely. So, my name is Dr. Jalaal Hayes, also known as Dr. Ja in my community. I was born in Chicago, raised majority Philly all my life. And my family dynamic, I was born under two educators. My mother was a K to 12 teacher, librarian. My father was a librarian, but he did more in the community and then transitioned over to higher ed. So if you look at my family dynamic, we lived in the hood, but in the midst of it all, we had books and information around us. So I did that for all of my life until I graduated, and that allowed me to get access to specific information that motivated my journey. What did I mean by that? So what got me into science was at the age of 8, at the age of 9, I realized I was good in mathematics through tutoring a young lady I was in the 5th grade, she was in the 8th grade. And I realized I saw the silver lining between her social studies homework, looking at latitude and longitude, compared to, my social studies homework, latitude and longitude, compared to her algebra, which was X goes before Y. So looking at those similarities, I saw like, wow, subjects are very intertwined with each other in some way. Like I can understand her math homework through my social studies background at that time. But I knew I had a knack for something by the name of Jesse Ernest Wilkins Jr., which he graduated high school at age 13, and then he graduated with his PhD by the age 19. Phi Beta Kappa, for those who don't know, Phi Beta Kappa is when you get all A's throughout your whole educational career. And that was awesome to me because at the time I was 13 reading about his journey. But what struck me and motivated me to do my journey, which I'm going to get a little bit into, was I was born in Chicago. He was born in Chicago. His mother was an educator. My mother was an educator. So that showed, okay, we had similar backgrounds. If he can do it, I know I can do it, but I don't know how I'm going to do it. So that's what spurred the moment. Now, that's chapter 1. Chapter 2, I call this into opposition turning to opportunity. And this is what spurred into my journey. So I guess as a prodigy, in a sense, my journey of graduating early is very different because I was met with oppositions in the school system. When I got into 9th grade, I took remedial classes. I took remedial math class and I took a remedial algebra class, which was kind of weird because I thought I was good in these subjects, but based off a test I took in 8th grade, I didn't do so well. So they thought I needed help in remedial math. Got A's in both classes, asked to transition over out of the class into a class that I needed for high school graduation, which was history. School told me no. So my parents stepped in and said, you know what? We're going to take summer school. Now at the time, I thought summer school was for people who were um, either failed the class or needed to review the class over. And my father did some research and said, no, there's a summer school that you could do advanced classes. So the advanced class means you could take it and be in advance or move ahead. I was like, this is cool. I just try and get in alignment. I just try and be with my class. So I said, let's just do it. Took the summer class in history to catch up with my class. And I like the summer school experience. It's cool. Let me take another 2 classes to make sure I'm advanced so we won't have any challenges when I get back from my 10th grade year. So I did the second session, took I think another history class and an English class because I really wasn't good at English back then. So by the time I got into um, traditional school or 10th grade, which was my public school, they told me, okay, you look like you caught up, but you're still going to be behind. Now, at this point, I was confused because I'm saying, and these are the oppositions for those who are listening. I said, how I'm behind? They said, well, you took the classes, but you still need to take a language. I said, okay, let's drop a class that I don't need and let's take the language. Well, it doesn't work like that. And you may have to stay for about now, you may can't do the 4 years. You may have to do 5 or 6 years. Now, this is where I got frustrated as well as my parents. And we sat down, looked at the curriculum after having that particular meeting with the school. And dad pulled me aside. And this was September 17, 2007. My life changed with this decision. He said, listen, Ja, they gonna keep doing this back and forth. So one thing I can tell you, based off looking at the curriculum, I can graduate you next year at age 15, and or you can stay in the school, but you may have to graduate, get left back in 6 years. Um, like any kid, I didn't want to move. I didn't want to move up. To be honest with you, I didn't really want to graduate early. I wanted to kick it with my friends. And
Mm-hmm.
also, I had some situations in my community I was a part of that I didn't want to leave and look like I was corny or a nerd. So I was like, give me some time. And I was 14 at the time and trying to make this, I guess, big boy
Mm-hmm.
decision. So went back home, um, kicking it with my friends, and a tragic situation happened with one of my friends. And talked to one of my old heads back in Philly, and he said, "You know what? The streets ain't for you. I don't even know why you out here. Your parents are too educated. What are you doing out here?" So I was like, "You know what? You're right. I don't even know. I'm." And he asked me a deep question. He said, "You 14 right now. Where do you see yourself next 5 years at age 19? And then where do you see yourself at age 24, 5 years from there?" And I said, the craziest question. Answer. I said, "Well, I just hope I'm alive by 18." And he said, "Nah, you got to get out this environment. And whatever decision, I don't know, but it sounds like you got a decision that you got to make in order to change your life over." Now, mind you, I never told a guy about me graduating early and even the thought of that. He just told me that. I said, okay. Went back to my parents. I said, let's do the graduation. Let's just do the graduation early. So that meant me had to take. This is where my life started to really shift. Okay, so dad was like, perfect. So we're gonna sign you up for night school and day school. You go take public school during the day, but you're gonna take a night class. Night class, yeah. Remember the Spanish they said, or the language you can't take? You're gonna take it at night now. So I was like, dang, I ain't got time for nothing. So I went to school. So it's funny. My school day was started out 7:45 and was done by 2 o'clock p.m. Had one bag, came home with the other bag, had to pick up another book bag for the night school, which started at 5 to 8 p.m. And I did that for 2 years, and also took one more summer session for me to graduate at age 15, August 1st, 2008. Um, which was the same day I got accepted into my alma mater, Lincoln University of Pennsylvania, where I started out as a freshman 19 days later. So it was kind of everything started moving fast for me. And then I applied the same thing I did in high school, for 3 years and graduated 18, the youngest to do it with 2 degrees from my class of 2011, 10 years ago. And then that same week, I applied for an internship while I was in school. I got accepted into an internship working with NASA on climate change and atmospheric chemistry. So got accepted into that. So 3 weeks after that, after I graduated, I started that internship for 3 months, which was a great experience. I was at Beltsville, Maryland, working under Goddard Space Flight Center, NASA, as well as with Howard University, studying the chemical contaminants in the air, how to clean it, how to analyze it, how much is in the air, things that are cool. We even launched weather balloons. So it was a great experience for me to actually understand research and get a more research experience background. So I'm telling everybody this because I was learning everything as I went. I didn't start out knowing STEM. I'm learning this as I go. School, now I got the field experience, right? Then I transitioned from there to start my PhD program at Delaware State University under the distinguished professor by the name of Andrew Gowdy, who was like a grandfather to me as well as my dissertation advisor. And because he saw me moving so fast, he put me on a fast track because typically in a science PhD, you start your research maybe your third or fourth year, maybe the end of your second. He put me in my research my second semester of my first year, which I said, why would you do that? He said, well, based on your track record, you on a fast track anyway. I don't want to slow you down. I'm like, but this is PhD work. Like, this is different. And he said, you'll be fine. And I was like, okay. I said, this man crazy, but okay. So I started my research. I'm 2011, literally January 3rd, 2012, I started my research. And the research was clean energy, hydrogen storage. The stuff that you're seeing now that we're looking at in terms of a world global energy demand. So I was studying that, the materials of the energy storage for hydrogen. And throughout my journey doing research on that, we stumbled upon and found a material that was very commercially viable, or thought to be commercially viable at the time. So we applied for a patent, which was granted 4 years later once I graduated. But once we filed the patent in 2000, and I think it was 2012 or 13, one of those years. But we filed the patent, and that's where I started talking about the research I was doing. So I had the option through his connections and just through mentorship. I was able to go speak in Italy, speak in UK, Manchester, UK, and then also speak at the university on research. Won some fellowships and awards along the way, which was, like I said, a great experience. And he also taught me in the midst of it all to navigate as a Black man in STEM and do it independently, but still be respectful to other cultures. So that's why I say he was like a grandfather to me, because he literally didn't just give me the information content wise, but he showed me life wise how to navigate this terrain of STEM and be inclusive and not just exclusive in your own culture. So learned that, and that's what you probably people seeing me now navigate that realm now. So did that for did my research and my coursework for 4 years, gave my dissertation June 17, 2015, and became granted doctor from there, and then graduated, walked across the stage December 20th, 2015, where at that time the school noted me as the youngest PhD to ever get my degree in applied chemistry from Delaware State University. And then I think later on, one of my mentors, he showed me, well, according to the National Academy of Science, you're the youngest in America. Now, coming from North Philadelphia, being Black, being heard that, it was kind of like, wow, okay, I'm just happy to, just be good through the process, becoming a doctor, and just thankful to have employment to give back to my community through education. But hearing that was definitely a humbling experience. So after I graduated, I said, I got all this research. I was speaking a lot of research jargon. And I said, you know what? I got to sharpen this up because a lot of people kept telling me English, English, English. I need to understand it in layman's terms. I'm not dumb, but try to break it down a little bit more. So I said, well, let me go into the field of education and learn how to articulate and communicate this information that I just learned. And the best way I think it will be done is through going back to my community. So I taught at a high school in South Philadelphia. Shout out to Universal Auto Charter High School, 33rd and Tasker, which is one of Kenny Gamble schools. One of the music legends that came out of South Philly. Taught at that school. It was an amazing experience, especially as a first year. I didn't know what I was doing, didn't know nothing about classroom management, but I stuck with it because I really love and enjoy the kids because they remind me how I was when I was 13, 14, 15. And taught in the high school run for about 2 years. This is 2015 to 2017 before it transitioned over to higher ed at Delaware State University, where I'm doing the same thing, mentoring students and taking them under my wing now, and also finding ways where we can employ them. So I'm in education and innovation, and I'm doing that through Lincoln University of Pennsylvania, which is my other alma mater. So that's essentially that my story. And for those who didn't catch everything I said, um,
Basically, he's smart as hell, and
I'm
so
a I'm a
we
guy
just
that got blessed. I'm not smart. I mean, I would say I got blessed with great opportunities, and I just took them. I can say that.
but you are smart as hell. So
Yeah.
and that's good. But when I listen to your story, a lot of people, when you talk about how you were raised in Philly, and um, there's this thing when people talk about, well, um, you're a product of your environment. And so, but they always attach it to something negative,
Mm-hmm.
and so the fact that you're able to say, this was my environment, but it didn't create, where I end up in, or my journey. And still having people that were considered, I guess, in the hood or on the streets, still be able to speak life into you and say, like, this may be for us, but this is not for you. So I want you to talk about, you know, what I've seen so much in education, when a young black male or even female don't understand something, or maybe they don't get information as quick as the other people or whatever, they immediately want to put you in these classes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not it's not helpful, because one, it's not helping the child, and then they don't educate the parents on, hey, once you put a child in that type of environment,
Mm-hmm.
that title, it sticks with them for the rest of their life. Their whole journey through our education, they're always going to be labeled as either having this disability or this or that. And so sometimes those students start thinking, well, I can't read. And it's like, well, he really can, but maybe it takes him a little bit longer, or,
Exactly.
and so that's kind of the way the system, they get away with, okay, if we just stick that kid in there, we don't have to really worry about him as much. His scores won't count, and his parents will
Counting
be
them out.
happy because he's getting extra help, and we don't have to worry about him. If you can just talk about, what you felt going into this class and thinking, like, looking around and like, I'm not sure this is really where I'm supposed to be. If you can talk a little bit about just how you felt in that moment, because I know that has to be when you're looking around and everybody, there's some people and there are students in there that really probably have, really need help,
Yeah,
and that you don't. So if you can talk a little bit about that experience for you, like what you felt.
definitely. So I would say, to be very transparent, I was the kid that really needed help when I started out. So when I got into kindergarten, so out of all my family, I'm the workhorse. Everybody else is like smarter than me. So my sister college at graduated high school at 16. My little brother did too. But they smarter than me. They could retain and get information faster. I'm the workhorse. So they say I'm the one that know how to hustle way through. The reason why I say that is because um, when I started in kindergarten, I was the slowest in the class. Literally, didn't know right from my left. Didn't know how to read. I didn't know I like A had two sounding. It's like A and I. Didn't know none of that. And so I had a teacher who was like Miss Strebling, who was like my first mentor, and she took me under the wing during the summertime and got me sped up. She was patient with me. So I want to put that out there. Like, I didn't start out smart. I started out way in the back to where there's, okay, Jalal, what is the left determine your right? I was, okay, what is left and right? I don't even understand that concept. So I started out from there, and it took me time about 5 years to get to speeding up. So when I deal
Mhm.
with, so for myself, by the time I got sped up, I understood the kid who was, they counted him out because I was that kid. And even in education, I understand, and that's why I take the time the tutor.
Yeah.
So throughout when I was there, I never looked down upon them. I just
Right.
tutored them. I just said,
Right.
okay, hey man, what you need? Oh man, this is dumb. I don't understand. I
Mhm.
said, well,
Mhm.
let's sit down and work it out because I know that feeling. I really
Yeah.
know that feeling.
Yeah.
Four, from 4 years old to 8 years old, it just
Mhm.
clicked when I was 9 years old.
Mhm.
So knowing that feeling for a long for the old my development, I can always revisit that moment. So with dealing with the kid, dealing with my peers who always have a challenge, I just go and help them and
Mhm.
take it where my mind say, okay, Jalal, how do you how did you process information?
Yeah.
And how did you get to where you sped up? And I just took
Mhm.
that and just apply it to that person.
Yeah.
And I've created them in a relative environment. So, for example, they may not like math, but they like basketball.
Right.
So, how can I relate it to basketball? They may
Right.
not like reading, but they like sports. So, how can I create like a sports way of reading? So, I
Right.
do things like that, which transition over what I do in my company, and that's just from me understanding. I had to do the
Mhm.
same thing. I had to figure out, okay, how does this relate to whatever? And that's why I said in the beginning that silver lining made it click for me, saying, "Oh, everything is related in a way." And
Right.
I took that into being an educator as well, because the funny thing is, when I started out education, I taught 2 out of my 3 classes were filled with IEPs. For those who don't know, is individual education plans, where they give students particular plan for that specific kid that you have to follow in order for them to get the knowledge and understanding for that particular subject or subjects. So I had students with a lot of IEPs. So can you imagine you have 18 kids and 16 of them have IEPs,
Mhm. Mhm.
different IEPs, they're not all the
Mhm.
same.
Mhm.
And then I know you could relate, Brian, with the concept of a social worker being in there. So certain
Mhm.
kids have to be emotionally in the right state in order for you to.
Mhm.
So I dealt with that, but
Yeah.
in regards to that, how do I teach them? I related back to my experience when I was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years
Wow.
old, and make it relate and just apply it again. Like one kid liked to draw, and they said we had to give them assessment. So
Mhm.
for the circular, and we were studying anatomy, physiology, circulatory system. I said, okay, my man, can you draw it for me and then label it?
Mhm.
He was happy. He was okay. Rather
Mhm.
than giving him a piece of paper, he go get frustrated and start running around and losing his mind.
Right.
So I find ways based off of how to make them feel like they are greater than and meet that expectation that they have to hit, because I know what it was like for me. So
Right.
I just want to put that out there. That's how I'm able to um, relate and connect with those kids, because I was that kid when I was younger, and I always revisit that moment, especially in this place I'm at now, where people say, "Damn, you smart as hell," and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, it wasn't always like that.
Right. Right.
It definitely wasn't always like that." And even now, I still in the business realm, I'm learning how to work and understand the language and innuendos in order to continue to progress. So now
Right.
I started out slow, but
Right.
I sped up because I just never stopped working hard.
Right. And I can relate to that. I think I shared that story with Brian probably a couple of months ago, because I was the girl in class where when they would say, "Okay, get out your books, and we're going to go around the room, and everybody's going to read." a paragraph. I used to be like, I gotta go to the bathroom. And I was staying in that shit
Yup.
all until somebody come get me out just to skip my turn. And it wasn't that I couldn't read. It was like, it was hard for me, or I felt like it was taking me longer to pronounce certain words. And so
That was me.
it was crazy when I got to, I had got a track scholarship. I got to college my freshman year. I was sitting like in a science class, I think, or something, and they started talking about all this stuff, and I was like, "What in the hell are they talking about?" You know,
Mm.
like I have no idea what they're talking about. And so the professor was like, "Well, all this you should have learned in high school, so we're not going to spend too much time." And I'm thinking, "Shit, we did," you know. And then, so people around me were like, "We learned this in high school," and I'm like, I don't remember that. And so I was like you, I was always able to hustle my way through. I don't remember anything from high school because I always just somehow I graduated and it was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I was like, always knew like I didn't want to be that athlete. I didn't want to be that girl that just all she knew how to do was run and I remember one class that I got into, I think it was like biomechanics or something once I got into kinesiology. And the instructor said, okay, I want everybody to stand up who's an athlete. So, the guys stood up all, proud. Yeah, we're on the football team. And so I stood up and he was like, all you guys gonna fail. Like,
Wow.
and I was like, shit, I'm sitting down because I'm not failing. I can't afford to lose my scholarship. So I'm gonna figure out how to pass this damn class. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna figure it out. And so when I continued to study, I just learned. I learned how I learned. I said, you know what, you can't study for a test a night before. You
Yeah.
you need a week. So while everybody talking about they gonna go do this or that, and they not gonna study till next week, I
Yup.
knew for me that I'm starting today because I'm not gonna remember any of this, and I would have to do the sticky notes and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really nice, when people don't understand your journey. So even no, disrespect when I said you're smart as hell, but it's like, people don't know your story. People think, wow, you must love school. I call him my play uncle. Every time I
Wow.
turn around, I would say, you coming to my graduation party? He's like, damn, you graduating. What are you graduating from now? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just be like, I'm just going to keep graduating, and just go higher and higher. And so,
Yeah.
it's just, you have to find that space. And I think that's so important. I'm glad that you shared that with us because there are a lot of students and parents who are misled and not educated on, yeah, your son or daughter may be able to go into those classes, but that doesn't mean that you can't still assist them on and giving them resources they need or making sure that they can move on the right way instead of just passing them on. But like you said, your teacher taking the time to teach you
Mm-hmm.
and help you and know that, okay, is this going to take him a little bit longer? Not that he won't understand it. And so I really appreciate you sharing that, with us. Now, if you could talk about, before I allow Brian to talk, in that type of environment in Chicago, where majority of young Black males are involved in sports. So while you're going to school with 10 book bags, full of 20 books apiece, and everybody else is going to the park to play, if you can talk about that experience for you, because I know that in certain communities, sports are a big, outlet for them. So if
Yeah.
you could speak a little bit on how, that experience of you doing one thing and seeing your peers do something else.
Yeah. So I was in Philadelphia. So I stayed in Chicago for like 3 days, and then I was in Philadelphia majority of my
Philadelphia,
life.
okay.
Nah, that's cool. But it's similar. It's similar cities, similar environments. But in regards to that, it was hard. It was definitely hard because I couldn't have my fun stop. And a lot of my friends who were smart, they was able to balance out doing the sports and then doing the sports and then also doing the schoolwork because I was in the situation of going to school twice. It was tough because I literally was creating a lane in my own. I was creating my own lane
Mm-hmm.
because again, the way I graduated school young wasn't traditional. There was no early entrant program. We created the early entrant program,
Mm-hmm.
and the
Mm-hmm.
subject was me. So, with that being said, it was tough, especially from the time where my parents was showing me and trying to motivate me when sometimes I didn't want to do it. So, man, I don't want to go to school tonight. I'm tired. And they said, well, Job, remember what you agreed to, which was they taught me commitment. So I had to commit to the decision that I made. So those nights or those days where I was tired, I just learned how to push through. I mean, I got help later through therapy throughout my mental health, but during those times I was just pushing through and not trying to think about my emotions throughout that season, because during that season I was like, yeah, I have to do this, because if not, I'm gonna be held back 6 years. So
Mm-hmm.
I was literally saying, okay, I know my friends are doing this, but my journey is different, because if I don't do this, I may not see them. They gonna graduate before me, not in the competitive space, but because of the decision I made at 8th grade, not taking the math test seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So because I didn't take that seriously, I got to take this seriously and push through and commit. So that was the mindset I had to take. Like, okay, I know they doing their thing, and I'm happy for them, but I got to do my thing, because if
Yeah.
I don't, I probably will mess up the opportunities that are probably ahead. Because I already know what that looked like when I messed up before.
Yeah. And it's important for you to operate in your space. You maybe not know that then, but you operating in your space really helped to inspire, those around you in whatever matter. They might have thought like, wow, he ended up doing this and that, and they got the motivation to go and do right. And, maybe not, but you
Hmm.
still being able to show those kids or those people in your community that this is my journey. This is what I have to stay focused on. I think that's just so important, because whether you're focused on athletics or you're focused on education, whatever your focus is, staying and committing to it. I think people have lost, the respect for commitment. It's like
Yeah.
nowadays it's like, oh, this is too hard. I'm gonna do something else.
Yeah.
People want to start a business. Oh, this is too hard. I'm gonna do something else. There's always finding something else to do. And so it's
Every
important that at that young age you were able to do that, and commit.
every highlight has a greater highlight has a great hustle behind it. Every greater highlight always have a great hustle behind it. So that's what allowed me, now looking back, that's what allowed me to keep pushing, because I know with the great hustle is going to be a greater highlight, to put it in social media terms.
So that's real, man. And whenever you were speaking earlier on how, they see where you are now, but they don't know what it took to get there. They don't realize that I was not this guy when I first
No.
started. I had somewhat of a roller coaster where I was going up all my life, and then I got to like my second year of college. Pew! It's like I hit rock bottom, and I had to build myself back up. And this next up was where everybody saw me. This is where they thought everything started, but they didn't
Mhm.
realize I flunked out of undergrad. I got kicked
Mm.
out.
Wow.
1.76 GPA. I got kicked out. But all they see is the MSW, the masters. All they see is the businesses that I started, all the publicity I got on campus, all the who's who, all the records and recognition. That's all that they saw. And it's so important, like you mentioned, is letting them know, look, it didn't start like this. And it's her name is Lisa Nichols. And she
Mm.
mentioned,
Okay.
don't make me extraordinary, because that lets you off the hook. That's
Yep.
you discounting the possibility that you can do exactly what I did. There's this like you said, there's opportunities that I took full advantage of at a specific time with a specific type of tenacity that most people aren't willing or aren't able to do so. And when we let that be known, like, I'm not special, I just busted my tail to get it. I just
Mhm.
made this sacrifice that most people aren't willing to make to get it. I lost this relationship to get there. I let go of these friendships to get there. I let go of this entertainment to get there. But most people don't want to let go of those things. And I forget who mentioned this one, but they say you won't become who you are meant to be because you're not willing to let go of who you are.
Mm.
So many of us are stuck on who we are right now, the reputation we have right now. We're not willing to build a better one. So just looking at the fact, like, you could have internalized the struggle when you were a kid. You could have let that be you. And we
Yeah.
see so much of that, so much, victimhood. You can easily internalize it and have tons of people feeling sorry for you. Oh,
Exactly.
he's slow. Be gentle with him. Like, he needs a little extra help.
Yeah.
No, I ain't slow. I'm gonna show you.
Yeah.
That's how we have to do it. C.T. Fletcher once said, my greatest form of motivation is when somebody tells me something I can't do, because I am bound and determined to make them out of a lie. But it's not necessarily about making them out of a lie. It's about proving to yourself that you are so much more than what anybody outside of you can say.
Exactly.
And just, listening to your story is a testament to that. And the fact that you've already been able to go and speak in front of many audience, I know you're already touching people and helping people that may have given up on the inside or on the brink of giving up, to realize, you know what, I guess I can do it too. Because I graduated high school, 3.89 GPA. So just under, slightly under 4.0. I got into college and those grades just dropped, and people would have never believed. I didn't tell people that I got flunked. I flunked out because I had a kid at the same time. So I said I withdrew to take care of my fatherly responsibilities. But later on, I had to come back and say, let me tell the real story. Let me tell the real story, so these people will understand what it is. And like my mom, she didn't even know it until like not too long ago. That, yeah.
You're gonna take that to the grave.
Man, like, how could I? I was like I was that guy leaving high school. And then I just fell off because, and Sherelle's heard it plenty of times. I was student athlete my entire life. When I got to college, I was no longer a student athlete. I was just a student, and I didn't know how to do just student. So I spent all my time in the rec center. And then ultimately those grades dropped. But when I had my little one, that was my reason to, you got to get your stuff together, because you got someone else depending on you now. And I came back and I internalized, I figured out what I wanted to do. And I declared psychology as one of my majors. I declared Spanish as a second major. And I was on the dean's list and president's list every single semester, one or the other. And after that, that's when my life just started going in the right direction. But it's one of those things where you got to embrace the struggle, but you got to see where you're going, regardless of what's in front of your face. You got to see where you're going. And just listening to the part of your story where your parents are having a conversation with you, look, we can do this or we can do this. Like, it's your choice. I mean, you weigh it out. And then ultimately, obviously, them being certain examples that was an influence on you making that decision. But, old head on the street, like, you ain't supposed to be out here. Sometimes we need the street to tell us that we ain't street. So,
be real with
I appreciate that, man. Yes, for sure. And that's one of the things that, I'm hearing from your story, just the authenticity. That's one of the ways that we're going to break through so much more effectively to that next generation, is when we don't come in the room trying to be Mr. Like you say, you had to break it down. Like, can you speak English, please? Like, these numbers that you're speaking.
Oh yeah.
Like, I had to be that guy. One of my mentors, like, I had a course that I was given in this program, and it was entitled "Defying Societal Expectations." And he came to me, he was like, "B, if I didn't know you, I wouldn't sign up for that course, because I don't know what it means. Like, you got to make it where regular people know what it means." So when I was able to take the terminology, all the ways I spoke in my research report, when I was able to break that down into layman's terms and go and speak in a juvenile detention center, bringing this master level information to them, but speaking it in their language, that's when I was able to break through to them.
Exactly.
And I love the fact that you say, you know what, I'm going to go back to to my community. I'm going to start with the youngsters, because you could have easily taken a university position and just crank out research, get that grant money, but your heart went back to where it is you're really going to be impactful. If you don't mind, just kind of speak on coming from the environment and then going back. What was the reception like? And did you really have did you have people that were like, oh my goodness, you want to go and be mentored by Dr. J? You want to go and spend time with?
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit how that kind of folded out when you went back to start in that academic position.
So when I went back home to Philadelphia and got and went into teaching becoming a high school science teacher. At first, I didn't really. I'm a humble guy, so when I went in there, I just said, "Listen, um, one, I wanted a employment, but two, I want to teach high school science." And I tutored a lot. I tutored people throughout my journey, but I really want to understand education. I mean, my mother's an educator, but I really want to understand what does this field look like and what does it represent? Because in my family we do it, but I personally don't know what it is because I've been science, research. I really want to do it. So got in, got employed, started the class, and it was a journey because first I looked young. I didn't have a beard like I got on now. Then I look a little older. I look very very young, and they was sitting there saying, "Okay, who's this young guy trying to talk to us? Like, who is this guy?" I'm short guy too. I'm 5'6", so that ain't even help. So it was like, who's this guy? Man, got it.
Well,
He
just to
funny.
interject real quick, whoever does your marketing does a good job because you look tall in your content.
Nah, it's all good. Thank you. But not in a sense, I sat there and I was like, okay, this is some interesting stuff. And I was like, okay, how we get to these kids? They worry about the wrong stuff. So I sat down and just taught the information. And one thing I love about students, especially teenagers, they your worst. They go to tell you like it is, what you're doing wrong and how you can improve. So they was telling me, well, I don't understand what that means. And somebody even said, well, I can't even read. I'm on a second grade reading level, and it was 10th grade. So talking with them, first I had to learn my classroom. I talked to them like human beings rather than just kids. So I talked to them and try to understand them first before we even got to the information. That's where I had to check myself. After doing that, that's when we start rolling out the information. And then when I was rolling out the information, I understood that I was saying terms and they said, what? Cardio, what? What is cardio? What is neuro? I don't understand that. And I said, well, neuro is the brain. How that's the brain? So I realized, okay, now, and this is through coaching, my coaches, they said, you got to break down the vocabulary. I said, they should know this in 10th grade. And that's where I messed up. It's like you assuming that they know, but they don't know. Never assumes they don't know. Always try to teach the class as if somebody don't know what you're talking about. Now, if they feel like you're talking to them dumb, you can elevate the language. But assume somebody don't know what you're talking about. So I start changing it up and just breaking down the language into simple words. So cardio, Greek word, a Latin word for heart. Neuro, Latin word for brain. So just explaining that, where is that located? It's located on top of your head. How many brain parts? So we went through that, and then once they start catching on, we start speeding it up because now they understand the language, and so that's where I began connecting with the kids, and I'm now taking it to what I do in education for STEM, because all STEM is, and I think people need to understand, is not hard. STEAM, with the arts integration is around you. I'm gonna put that out there. It's around you every single day. STEAM is nothing more than just a culture. Every culture has a language. If you understand the language, you can get into the culture. So my job, I just try to make you understand the language so you can be bilingual, so you can be in the culture of STEM and the culture of the inner city or whatever you want to be a part of. So that's essentially where I begin rolling out for my students how they can approach the way, especially STEM, anatomy and physiology, how they can approach chemistry, how they can approach biology, and even how they approach physics. We do vocabulary first, break down the words to something they can understand, related to a story, have them create their own story. Then from there, now I can show you what it looks like in the STEM community. And after all of that, they realize not only they understand the word, they can see how it relates to their everyday life, but now they can walk into the STEM community and really know how to communicate on a high level as well as a level that they're dealing with within their community. So that's essentially how we
Man,
through the language. Because again, Once you understand language, you can understand culture. But each and every day, STEM is around you. You brush your teeth, acids and bases. You neutralizing it so you won't have bad breath. You cooking. Cooking is thermodynamics. The heat from the stove is coming to the pot, which boiling the water. Doing the same thing for a coffee pot. You walking outside. You walking across the limb. Friction. That's how if it's raining, you leaving footprints because it's friction with the you doing it every day. I think people just don't realize it's all around them. But once you realize that, they start realizing that they realize that hey, I can be a scientist, a technologist, an engineer, and a mathematician because I do these things every day. That's your instinct.
That's real, man. And just to like wrap it up, it's if we look at so many areas in life where we have experts, whether it's the preacher and they're trying to preach the word to these kids, and these kids like Deuteronomy, what is all that stuff? You have to be able to break it down into their understanding. And when you do that, you empower them to believe that they can understand it even more. So then you elevate your language a little bit, empower them. Dang, I'm kind of getting this. Elevate your language a little bit more. And slowly but surely, they come from that kid that may have been behind like yourself when you were younger to being top of the class because you taught them as if, so many people in our education system will try to teach. And I use this analogy. I forget where I saw it. They're trying to teach a fish to climb a tree because they're teaching everybody as if you're a chimpanzee. Like, no, we are all different. The system is set up to where you as a teacher, you can't give the individual attention. So I'm not mad at you, not fully, but we who are trying to break the system, who are trying to recreate.
Yes, I want to interject and say you can teach everybody. It's just a way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to teach concept rather than content.
Boom. That's it right there.
You got to teach concept rather than content.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this for STEM because STEM professors and even some teachers, they focus on content rather than the actual concept. If you focus on the content will come easy.
Right.
Yes. And I feel like sometimes, and Sherelle can speak to this even more with her being in the classroom. It's so much more of them teaching to the content because you know what? I got to get these kids ready for this test. And if I don't do this, then my job is going to be in jeopardy. But if I do this, these kids aren't really going to learn. So that's where we, people like ourselves, have to come in and be that difference. And I'm just glad you are here and you're able to articulate these things, like just those examples, those analogies that you just gave. That's like genius to so many people. And they're like, oh my goodness, I never thought about it like that. And you just said it so effortlessly. And we need so much more of that because, hey, they'll spit them flows to the latest rap song and understand how that contributes to our, attributes to their life. But why don't you do the same thing to some of this terminology that can actually advance your life? So I appreciate it, man. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So when you think about like, because of the stigma of STEM, or science, math, all those subjects, they always talk about, how Black students struggle in it. It just started becoming a system now of like, they just won't get it, But what I understood, well, as my journey progressed, I thought about you can be mixed up in the system and still try to teach the system, or you can create your own. Because when you try to come in and say, well, they can get it, but I may have to wrap it, or they can get it, I may have to make it relevant to basketball. Well, the system's not really worrying about you making it relevant. Like you said, they want to stick to the content, not relevance. And so, you being able to create your own system so that people, those young men and young, women can understand what it means to retain, this content in their own way. It's still all the same, but you have to, get it your way. We had a guest on several months ago, and he talked about knowing your name, and that's something that you always stick with. And so when I was looking at your name, it was about greatness, and the social importance. So when you think about your name and your journey right now, do you feel like it makes sense? Like, do you feel like when you think about what you were destined. When your parents named you, they probably didn't, I don't know if they knew that's what it meant or
Yeah, they
whatever.
did.
Right. So
Yeah,
speaking that into your life, very early, and you've been able to manifest it, even though your journey might have looked different than other people's or took you a little bit longer or faster in certain areas or whatever, you were still set up to have greatness. And I think that's so important for people to know what their name means, because no matter what your challenges are, no matter what your struggles may be, you can always go to the origin. You can always go to, this is one thing that
yeah,
doesn't change unless you change it,
exactly,
is your name. And even if you change it, it still was initially your name. So when we
exactly.
talk about your name, let's talk about where you are right now in your gift, and what brings you when you're not working in the STEM space, what brings you peace? What do you do outside of educating, consulting, and inspiring and motivating and all that
Definitely.
kind of stuff?
So my name, my first name Jalaal, means grander, prince, royalty. My middle name, the A, means kill, which is intelligence, and this is all from the I think I think it's either Urdu or I know it's Muslim in a sense. And then
Yeah,
my last
extremely.
name Hayes, is, of course, is the legacy of my father, the last name. So when I look at that, my dad was gonna call me Solomon. So it's kind of funny that the intelligent king that was Solomon anyway. So it's kind of weird how it's still in there. But that's what my name means. But we put Dr. Jah, Jah, which was kind of interesting. I'm not God by any sense. It just so happens Jah as my initials. So it's like saying my whole name. But when I look at that every day, and I'm in the process now reflecting. That's what I do when I'm just chilling, not doing anything. I just reflect. When I look at it reflecting, I'm like, wow, I'm really in alignment on my assignment right now in the world, which is I'm a trailblazer. Then want to put in one word, I trailblaze. And reason why I could say trailblaze, I did it for my family. Like if I go to a high school, and when I went to high school, did extremely well, I set the pace. So when my sister or brother come, they're like, oh, that's so and so. They already know we're gonna take care of you, this, that, and the third. But I was like the test dummy for it. So did it same thing in college, did the same thing in grad school, and then even now in the world, I feel like I'm a trailblazer for all the younger guys that's coming out now. Now, there's one guy that I met 2 years ago that he's going viral now in his journey. Graduated at 16 from DC. He chose to go to Florida A&M University, but he was picked by Harvard and Yale to go do his journey. But I met him 2 years ago because one of my other friends who did it young, shout out to Ty Hobbs and Powell, he graduated, I think, college at 13, 15. So it was a lot of us there, but we were the early generation, 2008. Now you're seeing a whole wave of young people coming through, and we just helping them navigate. So I reflect and say, wow, I'm a trailblazer. So anything I do, whether somebody see it or not, I know that young person that's doing their thing, they studying my journey, which
Wow.
allowed me to create a documentary, which literally released yesterday, on my
Mm.
journey to help them give a blueprint on how to navigate and do something greater than me. I was blessed 2 years ago to speak at the University of Oxford, one of the oldest English speaking institutions in the world, talking about applied energy, to
Mm.
now actually working on my own company for the hydrogen tech that I was mentioning earlier. So that's my journey. Like I know I'm be energy and education, education innovation. I know that's my lane. If you want to do that, I have the blueprint through my documentary. But
Mhm.
that's how I know that's my purpose in life and realizing alignment. So I do that to relax. I meditate a lot in the morning, wake up early to get ready and meditate. But also, I work out. So I believe in spiritual fitness, mental fitness, and physical fitness. So spiritual fitness, speak
Mhm.
to God. I got a gratitude journal, write every morning. Mental fitness, that's the meditation and seeing how I'm in alignment. If how to deal with my old me versus my new me, how I'm emerging to my new me, because the old me be tripping sometimes.
Yeah, we old
And
me be tripping.
and
Hmm.
then the physical fitness, I make sure I take care of myself health wise through
Wow.
eating right and then just working out.
Wow. That's amazing. And I think it's so important to have that balance. I think when we talk about being in alignment, I feel like a lot of people are not in alignment. We just try, they, especially in the Black community, we want to get on the hottest thing, what looks like it's about to make money, what's more trendy, but it's like those things that you chase take you out of alignment to what you're
Hmm.
supposed to be doing. When we're chasing the dollar and we're chasing the this and we're chasing the that, if we just stay focused on what we are supposed to do and within our life purpose, then we could probably get there a lot faster. But a lot of
Exactly.
us, we want to, well, if I can just do this right now, well, that right now is probably taking you away from what you really can be doing, for the rest of your
Exactly.
life. And so I just think that it's just a blessing to know that you have that balance, and that you constantly pour, but you pour back into yourself, putting things back
Have
into
to.
you so that you can be productive. And a lot of us, haven't reached our goals or done the things that we want to do because we're so spread out doing a whole bunch of things instead of staying focused on staying in alignment so that
Yeah.
you can actually see your gift manifest. And I think that's the hardest thing a lot of times is we have to survive, we have to you know feed our family, we do have to and the same thing with kids. Kids are like, I don't have time to do that because I gotta go work to make money for this or make money for
Yeah.
that. But those little 30, 40, 50, $100 that you make right now
Invest in
will
yourself.
not measure up. Yeah, will not measure up to what you can possibly make if you would operate in your gift and stay in alignment. So I really appreciate, with your family really making you stay in alignment. And even though you couldn't see it for yourself, other people
Yeah.
did. Even
Yeah.
the man on the street, that maybe he couldn't
Yeah.
see it for his life, but he saw it for yours. And I think that a lot of times our God and he speaks to us through other people. You know,
Always.
always. And so you just never know who's in your circle or who you may meet that's going to help you retract and make you go back to stay in alignment. Because as you mentioned, um, you said that, you talked about your mental health, and a lot of people struggle with that. I always talk about, as Black people, we're always taught, especially as a Black woman, to be the strong Black woman, and so being a strong Black woman means you don't show fear, you don't show that you're tired, you never hurt, you just grind until the sun comes down until it goes back up, and so I had to take some time to myself and realize I cannot continue to live up to everyone else's expectations. I cannot allow other people to push me to what they think I should be doing. I had somebody tell me the other day I should apply for something that's offering like $15,000 a year, $15,000 a year. And I just feel like so many times us as Black people, we always feel like we have to start from the bottom. We never
Yeah.
think like, why can't I make what everybody else is making? Why can't this journey be for me? Or maybe you should try to do this journey. Maybe if you try to go this other route that worked for such and such, well,
Yeah.
maybe that's not my route.
Exactly.
Maybe I
Exactly.
can go from the classroom straight up to being who knows what, an assistant superintendent. I don't know, but we don't know what our journeys are. So I really appreciate you staying on focus with that. If you can just talk about briefly, where you are, how your network of people right now, that do you have a team of people that you're working with? Is this
Of
on your
course.
own gift that you're working in? And how important it is for you to have, obviously, mentors probably right now that you probably still have, and then having a solid team. What does that mean for you to stay in alignment and having a solid team like that?
No, definitely. Team is definitely important. I couldn't do any and everything that I'm doing now without a team. Graduating young, I couldn't do it without a team or at least mentorship. The things even after grad school, to maintain, or even emerge the Dr. Job brand, I couldn't do without a team. Like literally, we did a documentary. That wasn't me. That was my team. They came up with the idea. I just so happened to be the face of the idea, but it was because of them we turned that dream into a reality. The videos, the media, that's all a team. I mean, I could do everything myself. I did majority of the stuff myself, but in order to accelerate it, you need a team. I think it's a quote that says, "If you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go with others." I want to go far. I mean, I could go fast all day. My journey was fast. People see that, But now I'm in a position now I just want to go far, and I want to not just be a brand, but a platform, meaning that when I get into position or when I get an opportunity, everybody gets an opportunity. When we create a movie, everybody gets on. I mean, I can be on all day. I mean, I've been doing it, I guess, for a very long time now, but now I'm like, I want people that really want that light. Go ahead. I don't need the light all day. I'm cool. I really want to make sure that you do your thing, but we all work together to make sure the common goal is to put our communities where it's at. And that's because we have a solid mission. That's why we are a more effective team to build out. So I have a team right now in regards to even companies I'm building now, I'm building with a team. So I don't care what nobody say. I mean, I know they say, well, you got AI, artificial intelligence out here. You could do it on yourself. That's cool and that's cute. But at the same time, human, you still need wisdom. That's knowledge. You still need wisdom. And with the wisdom people give you, which is advisors or mentors, that's going to help you take even further. Even they just tell you a 5-minute thing, or like I said, the old head just sat down and had a conversation with me. That's going to take me further than just my knowledge, because again, I'm 28 now, but I still got a lot to learn. I'm humble enough to say that. But I know with the knowledge and the wisdom I have now, I could at least help an 18-year-old to navigate, or at least a 16-year-old. I could say that. But it's because of my
No,
team
you
who
can help
listens.
40 and 50-year-olds. Everybody's journey is different. I mean,
Yeah.
some people think that, oh, I'm too old now to do this. It's like,
Nah,
no,
you can
you
go
can
ahead.
get it at any age. And I think that's always, some pressure of you feeling like, you behind, and he's 28, he did all that, I'm behind,
Nah,
but it's
you're
like
not
you
behind.
got
You
your
right on
own
time.
journey. Right. And that's
Just
what I think is so important, that we stress that your journey may not look like everyone else's, but that's
yeah, like
okay.
like my dad, he literally I got a doctorate right at 22. My dad literally just got his and he's 50 something. And my mom is getting hers now. So I I tell people my journey is I'm just motivation. I'm not, don't look at me and think competitive. Think how I can create my own path. Think creation, not competitive. Competitive is good for business, but even showing the statistics, when you compete, you start losing value. When you create, you gain value. So just focus on creation and stop competing. Because when you create, you not only add value, but then you elevate yourself towards collaboration. And when you get in collaboration, you start becoming more committed. So commit to yourself, create, and focus on collaboration. Competitive is it's cool to say when you're talking like pitches and business, but focus on you.
I
So
Invest
got
in.
if you can leave something with that one thing with that young man, or that one thing with that young woman, what would it be?
I would say it doesn't cost to dream, so dream big. One of my mentors named Dash taught me that, and another thing is make sure that you look at your life from 5 to 10 year increments. Write it down every day and trust the journey. Don't and trust it with your gut. It may look mentally right, but if your gut tell you it's not morally right, don't go for it. And I'm telling you that from 28, and something that I've learned at 15, 16. I mean, I get fast. Would you want to get fast money? And this for the street guys. You want to get fast money, you want to get long money.
it's real. That is so real.
You want fast money, okay, cool, but you know that's not gonna last long. But if you want to get long money and it's standing your test of time and you ain't gotta look over your shoulder for it, it's less risky. I mean, it's risk, but it's gonna pay you dividends in the long run. I suggest you take that. But it starts from planning 5 to 10 years, just like the old head told me.
I love it.
Um,
That's real. That's so real. And ultimately tying that into just letting everyone know that you are where you are because that's where you're meant to be right now.
Yes,
And don't discredit the value that you have right now because you are an expert at something to someone.
exactly.
So, no, I just appreciate you so much, man. Like, I feel like I just sat through one of the best PhD lectures that I could have.
Now we just
And
have a conversation.
I know, and when you can
We just have a
It's a
converse,
good
conversation.
conversation.
yes,
Yeah.
indeed. So, yeah, like I really, and not that I really want to, just listening to the energy here, there's going to be some things that we're going to have to do
Okay.
in collaboration. And, we love to have you back in the future to speak on something in specific, maybe a certain specific area in STEM education. Because it's definitely, we've actually featured it in our social media a couple months back. But to have someone who is a trailblazer like yourself in the space, that would be just phenomenal to be able to, add some specific value.
Absolutely.
But what are some things you got going on? Any events coming up? I know you got your book. Just tell us where we can send people to support you.
Sure. So you can support me. My website is www.drjalalhayes.com. So there's Dr. JALAAL Hayes.com. If you can't remember that, you could just Google my name, Jalaal Hayes, and I think it'll pop up like the third link. Also, you can support. Recently, my team and I just launched a documentary. It's called Exploding Dreams, a STEAM story. Talks about my 10-year journey from 15 to 25. Getting accepted at Oxford, PA, Lincoln University of Pennsylvania, to Oxford, UK. Get accepted at Oxford, UK at 25, the oldest English speaking institution. So the oldest HBCU to the oldest English speaking institution. What's that journey look like? What was the ups and downs? Everything I just talked about today, you get to see and hear and feel the emotion. And also, there are some people in there that talks on my journey as well. You can explore that Exploding Dreams. You can look at www.explodingdreams.com. Again, it's www.explodingdreams.com. And it's streaming literally right now.
When you say your resume and you say your bio, have you ever just said like,
Yeah.
damn? Sometimes I've had people read mine, and I'd be like,
Yep.
that might sound important. I sound like
Yeah.
I did a lot of. I just when I'm listening to your backstory and then where you're at, it's just like I just wonder when you're saying it, like, do you ever think like, damn,
Yeah. I all the time. So when
Mhm,
people read it, I say, because I just move. So I'm
mhm.
I'm an action person. I don't talk a lot. So when I
Mhm.
sit down finally talk, I said, dang, I really did all that. Okay. I was
You
just
be
in the
brushing your teeth
zone.
like, damn.
Yeah. That's the reflection period. I'm now thinking since last year, COVID forced me to sit down and really reflect. Like, dang, I did a lot. I really
Yeah.
did a lot.
And it's so
Like,
important that
wow.
we have those moments because I think that because you're similar to me as well, where you just constantly go, 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 go,
Hmm.
go, go. It takes other people some time to be like, Sherelle, you did this, 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 and this in 2 years. And I'd be like, I did? Okay,
Yeah,
cool. But I'm trying to do something else. Like, I'm just
that was me.
always on the go. So
Hmm.
sometimes, I have to learn, and I'm still learning, like how to be more present,
Yes.
so I can actually build a relationship with people, so I can actually learn and remember something. But
Yes.
a lot of my life, I don't remember because I've always been like you, like hustle. I don't know if that's like the city part of me. But I just always feel like I'm on the
Yeah.
grind, like 24/9, just always grinding. And so I have to make a conscious note to be like, hey, celebrate every moment. I think I made a post in that, celebrate every
Every
single
moment.
moment because we get so caught up going so fast that sometimes we just miss that present, time and moment. And so I would hate to be thinking about something I have to do later and miss, the time that we've shared with you. Because these is moments like this that's so important. I think
Yes.
our community needs to know that be present. You
Yes.
never know who you may come across or be in your life that can speak life to you or motivate you to do something or um, you just never know. And I think that that's so important, just to be present and value these relationships that we have and build. So please make sure that you are going out and supporting Dr. Job, because it's important that you never know. Again, you may think that science not for you, or you may think, but just his journey alone, you can relate to what it means to stay on course, what it means to stay in alignment, what it means to the difference between people pushing you to do one thing, but that one thing pulling you to do something else. And I
Exactly.
always tell people, stick to the pull. whatever that pool is, when you sleep at night, when you wake up, when you talked about the gut, so please make sure you go to exploringdreams.com and see what he's doing in his whole journey and see everything. Like I said, if you think it's not for you, you never know who's in your circle of people that may need to hear. So I just appreciate your vulnerability. I appreciate you just being you. And, we enjoy and we are looking forward to building future relationships or continue
Absolutely.
this relationship. Like you said, we are family now. So we're going to come over and we're going to eat at your table and we're going to just
Break
walk
bread.
the streets.
Let's pull all the tables together. You ain't got
All
Yes.
of it.
and build like platform
Yeah,
building. That's what I'm about.
absolutely.
That's it.
Absolutely. So again, thank you so much. And please make sure, and in your book and everything is on your website.
Yeah. So the book, my book is available at drjalalhays.com. So
Okay.
drjalalhays.com. Yeah, this book, Growing Up Great, it's available on
Wow.
that website. The movie got its own link,
Yeah,
explodingdreams.com.
we got that. Okay, cool. Cool. And we can get the gear from,
So you could get the swag. So this swag is at drjalalhays.com, but also Exploding Dreams. My other executive producer, he creates some. I think y'all gonna like that swag better than this one. This is all right,
oh,
but
okay, you done
but but
stepped it
this
up.
but the other swag, my other executive producer, he created Exploding Dreams. He got hats. Educators, we like mugs and also a T-shirt as well. So you can get the whole experience. And also for those who want a personal showing, you want to meet me and talk about the film, we could do that as well. But you can hit us up at explodedreams.com to do that.
Well, you are definitely exploding the dreams, and by you being in alignment, you really helping to explode other people in their dreams and what they
That's
want to
the goal.
pursue. So I appreciate you and continue operating in your gift. And we will be seeing you very soon. So if you can sit
Definitely.
back in the backstage for us a quick moment, and then we're gonna close out.
Awesome.
Right.
So we had Dr. Jaws in the building. Jaw in the building. He was. I'm like, I just love when people can really talk about their journey, like just saying you don't have to always be. And I think that sometimes that's a pressure in education is like, I hear elementary kids and kids in middle school, like, I got to make a 3.0. I got to make a 4.0. Because the big picture is going to these schools. And they think that their journey has to start right there. And so like he talked about, like his journey didn't always start, from he started out in all resource classes and all kind of stuff, but he had to work harder, and smarter to get to where he is right now. So we can't put so much pressure on people or trying to make their journey your journey or make your journey their journey. Allow our students or our kids to be in this space that they need to be in and continue to encourage them and support them. So obviously, and then your name, when you're naming your kids, parents, when you're naming these kids that you haven't, name your kid with some relevance. Because if you name your child off of something that's negative, like Hennessy and Coke or something, you can't expect greatness from that. Alizé, and I'm not knocking anybody's name, but it is important that because you are attached to your name, please name your children off of something with relevance and manifest who they're supposed to be into their life from an early age before they even make it out to this world. So I think that's important.
That's real. Everything that she just said, magnified. Guys, I'm telling you, if y'all just come and listen in, just like kick back and just listen in, you have no idea how much wisdom you will get from our guests. Dr. Sherelle Hobbs and I, we drop a few nuggets here and there, but our guests are just bringing the fire. And that's what we're here for, to show you what all we have to offer and how, if we glean from one another, partner with one another, link arms, bring tables together, we can build together.
I
And we
like that
can
he
make,
said that.
I
Don't
know,
just sit at
right?
my table, but everybody bring your own table because you never
Yes.
know. Don't think, and even if your table, people think because their table's too small, it does.
Hmm.
Your table's never too small. You can always slide in where you fit in. And
Hmm.
so please make sure that you operate in your gift and never feel afraid to collaborate with other people.
Exactly.
Because like he said, you can go fast or you can go further. You got to pick which one you want to do. So we'll be here again next Thursday on the Black Podcast. Please make sure we have a lineup for July. So you don't want to miss. And y'all, this stuff getting, we keep saying, I know it's broken English, but we get more better and more better. And that's all I got to say. And I don't care if y'all talk about, she's supposed to be a doctor, but I'm saying more better because that's what I'm thinking. Okay. So please make sure you continue to support the Black Podcast and spread the news, share this video, because again, you never know who's in your circle that may need to hear it. So go out and support our guest. He's doing great things, and he's just 28, so this is just the beginning. He hasn't even touched the surface of what he's about to be doing. So please make sure that you are him, and again, you never know what you may gain from his experience and his journey. So we'll be here Thursday at 4 p.m. on the Black Podcast. I'm your co-host, Dr. Sherelle Hobson and Brian Street.
We out.